tisk sound effect, tisk sound effect.
Nintendo. Look, I love Nintendo. They're great. No other company has done what Nintendo has done. They certainly haven't been able to do it with the same quality, quantity, or consistency that Nintendo has had for decades. Nintendo is the innovator, known for their creativity. They literally invented video games. I know you think it was Atari, but what is Atari spelled backwards? That's right, Nintendo. Checkmate liberals. But Nintendo didn't just stop at video games. They quickly realized that nobody wanted them. Back then, only adults existed, and it is illegal for people over the age of 23 to play video games. So Nintendo had to create a consumer. Nintendo straight up invented children. Sure, religious people say it was God, and science people say it was monkeys, but it was actually Nintendo. The only problem was, children are very difficult to manufacture, so Nintendo had to invent a new way to produce children. That's right, Nintendo invented sex.
Sex and Dr. Mario? Nintendo really is responsible for the two greatest inventions in human history.
But lately, Nintendo's first-party output hasn't really been as impressive as it used to be. Instead of stuff like Sex and Dr. Mario, they've been producing stuff more akin to Age of Calamity and cease and desist orders. I mean, Nintendo was a real rat last year. Lackluster releases, a lack of new information, and blatant disrespect for their fans landed them right at the top of Santa's naughty list. And not in a fun way. My schedule is pretty clear for the next few days, and other than 3 flu shot appointments, I don't really have anything going on right now. So I figured I'd do a quick little month-by-month retrospective on Nintendo in 2020. You know, for anyone who's a little out of the loop as to why everyone's so disillusioned with Nintendo lately. In January, Nintendo was already poised to dominate this year. Animal Crossing Switch already had a release date, Mario's 35th anniversary was coming up, Breath of the Wild 2, Metroid Prime 4, and Bayonetta 3 were all in production, and a lot of fans were really hoping Mario Kart 9, Mario Odyssey 2, Pikmin 4, and Pokemon Gen 4 remakes would at least be announced, if not released. And with no general Nintendo Direct since September 4th, it really felt like Nintendo was winding up for a heavy hitter. Obviously none of this was going to happen in January because nothing ever happens in January. So what did happen this month? Byleth got added to Smash Ultimate and oh boy, people were mad. I was really happy with Byleth, but I get why people were upset. Fire Emblem 3 Houses got new DLC and literally nobody cared. And Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE Encore launched. And I don't know a single person who bought the Wii U version, so why would anybody care about a Switch sequel? A lot of Fire Emblem this month, huh? Oh, also, Just Dance 2020 released for the Switch and the Wii, but not for the Wii U, because... As for February, nothing really happened in February. Nintendo did add a few Super Nintendo games to Nintendo Switch Online, but there is a reason why that video has 11,000 dislikes. Other than that, nothing really happened. I mean, it makes sense. Animal Crossing was coming out next month. If anything important was added to Switch this month, it would have had much lower sales than it would have had any other month, because everyone was waiting for Animal Crossing. Oh, and would you look at that? The highlights of this month were an Animal Crossing Direct and the announcement of an Animal Crossing-themed Nintendo Switch. Gee, I wonder why! March was a much meatier month. It started out with Pokemon Mystery Dungeon DX, a remake of the original Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. As someone who grew up playing the original, I gotta say this version is inferior in every way. The art is nice, but everything else kinda sucks. I only got the free demo, but that alone was enough to make me want to die. We also got an indie showcase, and those are always really fun, but I don't know if anyone other than me actually watches those, so let's just move on. The big thing for this month was Animal Crossing, and it came out at the perfect time. It released on the same day as Doom Eternal, and any other year, Doom would have dominated the news cycle. But the US had just gone into lockdown, and Animal Crossing is the perfect lockdown game. Doom faded into obscurity, and Animal Crossing became so popular that there was a shortage on Nintendo Switches. Seriously, everyone wanted to buy one during spring, but no one could get one. A shortage on a Nintendo console really shouldn't be possible, but I guess after the Wii U, Nintendo isn't really used to people actually wanting to buy their stuff. We also got a Nintendo Direct Mini, where they announced a bunch of I don't care third parties, and a Catherine full-body port. And then they ruined my day by reminding me that an ARMS character was being added to Smash. And in April, man, fuck all happened in April. And they made a video about Mario Legos, and then released the first of what would become monthly Animal Crossing updates. But that's it. Also, I feel like now is a good time to remind everyone that it's been 8 months since the last real Nintendo Direct, and we haven't gotten any information on any of their upcoming previously announced games. In May, they finally added 4 more titles to Nintendo Switch Online, and none of them are worth more than a few minutes of your time. Remember when they said that this was going to be happening every month? Kinda glad that it's not. They also announced Paper Mario and the Origami King, which was really exciting. Emphasis on was, but we'll talk about that more later. And they ended the month with Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Honestly, I don't care about Xenoblade, but I'm happy for the fans. It's obviously a good game, and I'm glad that Shulk from Smash is now available to an audience that only knows he exists because of Smash. June was the start of what I am now calling the Nintendo drought of 2020. They didn't release any of their own games, instead choosing to focus on announcing random, usually uninteresting third parties. The only actual Nintendo release in June of 2020 was adding Min Min to Smash Ultimate, and she was just as awful as we all expected her to be. Not fun to play, not fun to watch, not fun to play against. Just like the truly awful game she comes from. Also, we're 6 months into the year, and the only Switch game I had actually purchased at this point was Animal Crossing. In July, 3 new games were added to Nintendo Switch Online. 2 of them were garbage, but 1 was Donkey Kong Country! Nintendo Switch Online now had 11 must-have Super Nintendo games on the service. That's not a lot in the grand scheme of good Super Nintendo games, but it's about 8 more good games than the NES Nintendo Switch Online library.
Oh boy, I just love NES Tennis! Said no one ever!
And then later in the month, Paper Mario the Origami King came out. I was really excited when it first announced, but the more information I got, the worse the game looked. It essentially ended up being a Paper Mario game that had none of the things people actually liked about the series. This game was very controversial. Everyone who was born before Sticker Star hated the game. Everyone born after Sticker Star loved it. Of course, that tells you nothing about the Origami King. That just tells you that Sticker Star was garbage. Nintendo also had a partner direct. They didn't really announce anything too interesting. Some Cadence of Hyrule DLC, Rogue Company, which I got for free and still want a refund, and WWE 2K Battlegrounds. Ah yes, exactly what the Nintendo Switch needed. Whatever the fuck this is. But I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, right! Shin Megami Tensei 3 Remake and a long-awaited Shin Megami Tensei 5. Let's go! Atlas for the win! These were only announcements, not releases, and I only plan on getting Shin Megami Tensei 5, because if Persona 5 has taught me anything, starting a very niche series with the 5th game of the series nearly a decade after the previous installment was originally released is the perfect way to start a new franchise. In August, they announced Pikmin 3. Now, I was pretty sure this game already came out. Oh, that's right, this is another Wii U game. Nintendo, back at it again with porting old games from a failed console instead of making new ones. I get why they're doing it. They're trying to cash in on sales that they would have gotten if anyone in the world had bought a Wii U. But what I don't get is why it's $40 more than the Wii U version, or why they removed the Wii U version from the eShop. Actually, I know exactly why they did that. Nintendo loves money, but hates their fans. They put the game back on the Wii U after receiving backlash, but the fact that they removed it at all is very telling of their lack of respect for their consumers. They also had an Indie World this month. I love Indie Worlds, and this one was just back-to-back quality, and led to me purchasing my second Switch game of the year. They also did another Partner Direct Mini, and this one was just not worth mentioning at all. Nothing but garbage. And Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, which is cool, but do we really need 2 Puyo Puyo Tetrises on Switch? I don't know. This month just left a bad taste in my mouth.
It might be from licking Switch cartridges.
Oh, this one tastes like plastic and microchips! And this one tastes like eternal virginity!
But I think it has more to do with the fact that this is another month with no new information on previously announced games, no announcements of new games, and no major Nintendo releases. September was kind of the end of the drought for the most part. It was the month of Mario's anniversary, and as a result, the month was kind of packed, even if a lot of that packing was just filler. Super Mario 3D World was announced, and oh, would you look at that, it's another Wii U game, because no one is tired of those! They also announced a Super Mario Bros. Game & Watch, which is cool, but it's also a Game & Watch in 2020, and it's the original Super Mario Bros., which is free with Nintendo Switch Online, and was on the Wii and Wii U Virtual Console, so who cares? They also announced a Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, which I pray is not the only new Mario Kart we're getting on Switch. It's still such a neat idea that I would have loved as a kid. I would have asked my parents for this and then cried when they said no, and then 10 years later I would have been like, thank goodness my parents didn't buy me that thing that I would have never used. They also announced Super Mario 35, which is my favorite announcement from the Mario Anniversary Direct. It took Super Mario Bros. And turned it into a Tetris 99 style battle royale. That's so sick! They actually did the impossible and got me to enjoy the original Super Mario Brothers. And it's free? Holy shit! And it's ruined. Damn it. Okay, but 3D All-Stars, that's great. That's really cool. Galaxy, Sunshine, and 64 on Switch, that's amazing. This was leaked like 2 months prior, but it's still so cool. Until you realize that none of these are remakes, and that it's $60 for ports of 3 games, with the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy and the Spyro Reignited Trilogy were both collections of 3 games, completely remade from the ground up for only $40 per collection. Look, the first 3 3D Mario games are all amazing landmark achievements, but they've also aged kind of poorly. They're riddled with glitches and antiquated controls, and they're all sorely in need of quality of life updates, but just weren't repaired in any way. Just re-released, which is kind of a kick in the teeth. Also, it's a limited release. Why? Why is it a limited release? Why? They also announced Hyrule Warriors and added Donkey Kong Country 2 to Nintendo Switch Online. They also had a Partner Direct Mini that started with Monster Hunter, ended with Ori, and had nothing but filler in between. All in all, not a bad month. Not the best in Switch history, but better than most. And September 4th marked an entire year since the last general Nintendo Direct. Yeah, okay, whatever. October started with Minecraft Steve being released for Smash Ultimate. I'm really not a fan of how he plays, but he is definitely a good addition. Way better than Min Min. Mario Kart Home and Pikmin 3 Deluxe also released this month, and nobody talked about either of them. Like, at all. I don't really get why. A Mario Kart spinoff and a Switch port of Pikmin for Wii U aren't really gonna do numbers, but still, radio silence? Nintendo also released The Crown Tundra, the second part of the DLC for Pokemon Sword and Shield. The first part also released earlier this year, but I didn't talk about it until now because I kind of have the same issues with both DLC packs. The 2 big problems that people had with Pokemon Sword and Shield was the fact that there wasn't nearly as much content as there had been in previous games, and that a large chunk of the Pokemon had been removed from the games. Now, the DLC fixed both of these, which is great, until you think about the fact that both DLC packs released less than a year after the initial release of the game. Now, I'm not a game developer.
Oh, no shit! He's not a developer? I never would have realized if he didn't say that.
But I also know that they said that the reason that there was less content and less Pokemon was because it was too time consuming to add more. And then they added more less than a year after? The timing is what's weird to me. It almost feels like this stuff was in the original game and was removed so that they could charge you for it as part of DLC. And I think that nothing supports this theory more than the fact that in every previous Pokemon game, all of this stuff would have been included from launch. Hell, Heart Gold and Soul Silver and the original Gold and Silver had an entire second region as their post-game for no extra cost. Something just seems a little off about this. But the Nintendo controversy didn't stop there. Nintendo started claiming that Joy-Con drift isn't real and that it wasn't negatively affecting players. Now, we all know that's bullshit. They've already lost multiple lawsuits about this. They publicly admitted that it's a problem and they've been offering free Joy-Con repairs for months. So why all of a sudden are they pretending it doesn't exist? Do they really hate their fans that much? The old Nintendo would never do this. The old Nintendo was giving out free gamer gloves because one of their controllers was injuring people. Oh crap. November was fun. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity was released, and I loved this game so much that I made a 14-minute review calling it garbage. People really didn't like that, but it's my most viewed video from 2020, so haha! But November wasn't the month of Hyrule Warriors. It was the month of controversy. Nintendo shut down a Melee tournament because it used unofficial software. That stands out because copies of Melee are no longer produced, so they're not losing any money due to piracy, and due to COVID, unofficial software is a necessity to play this game in tournaments. I think they're just being petty because the fan-made Melee Online works leagues better than the official Ultimate Online. It shouldn't be possible, but it is. The multi-billion-dollar company is losing to some dudes who are working for free, but this angered people, and since then, every chat, every comment section, every fan account is just full of free Melee. As an Ultimate fan, it's kind of annoying, but I still strongly support free Melee. They're definitely in the right. Oh boy, in December, Nintendo took it even further. They canceled an entire Splatoon tournament because players and teams used names that included free Melee. That's insane. They also removed tons of re-uploads of Nintendo music from YouTube. Now, this is well within their rights because of copyright infringement, but there is no other way for fans to easily access Nintendo music. It's not on Spotify, it's not on YouTube, I'm pretty sure it's not on Apple Music, and for the most part, it's not even being sold anywhere. Nintendo knows we want to listen to their music, but they are actively refusing to give us legal options and then making it impossible for us to listen to it at all. And they shut down third-party Joy-Cons being sold to raise money for charity in honor of famous and beloved Nintendo fan Etika, who was lost to suicide not long ago. Fucking why? Why would they do that? Oh, but they added Donkey Kong Country 3 to Nintendo Switch Online, and they announced and then released Sephiroth for Smash, and did a direct at the new Nintendo theme park, which looks great. So let's just forgive them for actively treating the fan base like garbage. So all in all, not a great year for Nintendo, and an even worse year for Nintendo fans. While Microsoft and Sony were popping off all year, it seems like Nintendo was actively trying to fail. Lackluster and sparse releases, 16 months without a real Nintendo Direct, no new information, not even a screenshot, not even telling us, yeah, we're still working on these games in regards to stuff like Breath of the Wild and Metroid Prime 4, and just being an all-around mess has led to Nintendo's reputation essentially disappearing within the community, and has created probably the worst version of Nintendo in recent history. It really is a dark age for Nintendo. I cannot wait to see the 3 videos Scott the Woz makes on 2020 in about 5 years. But seriously, as much as I hate to say this, I can't help but wonder if things would be better if Reggie hadn't retired. I find it hard to believe that the Reginator would stand for this. Well, shit.